Hi, Alan Weiss, Common Sense Consulting weekly video, a new edition. Today, we're going to be talking about how to create a speech. I've been asked this a lot, and it's really quite simple. It's not difficult. Get over the stuff in your own head. I'll show you how to create a speech, whether this is 20 minutes or an hour or 90 minutes. Generally, a keynote speech, a speech to a large room of people, is no more than 90 minutes. After that, you're talking about a workshop of some kind. But these can be as short as 20 or 30 minutes. I'll tell you how you do it. A speech has three parts: an opening, a body, and a close. This is why I make the big bucks. The opening has to be a hook. People will decide, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, in the first 90 seconds, how much attention to pay to you. If they don't like what they hear, they might not walk out. Sometimes they can't. But their attention will wander. They'll start to check their email. So you need an opening with a hook that draws people in. And that might be a demonstration, it might be an example, it might be humor, it might be a story. Personally, I like to tell stories. But there are vivid ways to get a hook. For example, here's an interesting statistic. If 3 fully loaded 747s crashed every day of the week, what do you think would be the government's response? And everybody says the government would ground 747s. They might ground every Boeing plane in the world, but certainly all 747s. There'd be no question about it. Yet that's exactly the number of people, 3 fully loaded 747s, who die of tobacco every day. Die of tobacco use or secondhand smoke. Now, once you say that, you get people's attention. So the first thing is your hook. The second is the body of the speech. In the body of the speech, you'd have X number of points. If it's a 20-minute speech, probably 2 to 3 points. If it's a 90-minute speech, perhaps 6 or 7 points. And you can just divide. In other words, if you have an hour to speak and you want to raise 5 points, you have approximately 10 minutes per point because you have an opening and a closing that will take up the rest of the time. If you do questions and answers while you talk, then you probably have more like 6 or 7 minutes a point because you're taking Q&A as well. So you have to factor these things in. When you go to your points, you transition by saying, I have 7 points I want to talk about today. Here's the first one. And a point should be supported by some kind of example or story or indication that strikes people. Many of your classic keynote speeches are story point, story point, story point. And that's how people can grasp them. So you might use a visual, you might use a story, you might use an example, you might use something from today's newspaper. But support your point with something. And don't use PowerPoint. You heard it here on video. Don't use PowerPoint. Technology takes away from the speaker. And in a 90-minute speech, you don't need those kinds of visual aids. If you're going to be showing some kind of exotic and complicated merging of something, maybe you need them, but most cases you don't. And I found that they're almost always superfluous. You've seen the professors that show up for a 20-minute presentation and they have 90 slides. Come on. And then finally your close. And the close contains 2 elements. A summary of what you said. We talked about 6 points today. Let me just review briefly what they are. And some kind of call to action. What I'd like you to do tomorrow, when you walk to your desk, is change your priorities in such a way that you use the system we spoke about today. Ask your assistant to help you. Change your voicemail message. Forward your phone. Prevent your computer from alerting you to emails. Whatever it is, a call to action. That's my call to action right now.